Okay, the fourth key that I want to stress to you, the high school student, is we can plan as a team, you and your parents, how much you can afford to pay for school. The good news is, and I'll go over this in the next key, is that everybody can go to college. There's colleges of all different price ranges and opportunities. So that shouldn't be an issue. It's figuring out how much we can afford as a family. Now, let's simplify things. There's really only 4 ways to pay for college. I'm going to take out the military and any type of grandparent help. The first way is through financial aid, which we've already gone over. Some people will get financial aid, some people won't. One thing I want to stress with financial aid as well is if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. You have to fill out the forms, do it as accurately as possible, and on time, be first in line when submitting those forms. But after financial aid, you either have savings that you can tap into or you don't. After savings, another way to pay for it is add a cash flow, simply off of your paycheck on a regular basis. Some people will have this resource, some people won't. It's not right or wrong, it's just simply looking at your family and figuring out how much you can afford. Now after that, if whatever financial aid we've received, how much savings we can fall back on, and how much money we have left over at the end of the month, the only other way after that is loans. So we can go through each one of these one by one and figure out how much your family can get in terms of financial aid, pay out of savings, out of cash flow. Then we can analyze this important one, how much can we borrow and how much do we want to borrow? So it's very important to ask those questions before we commit to a college, because otherwise it may be stories like we read earlier where you're borrowing too much and you just didn't think the process through, you made an emotional decision as opposed to a rational one. Here's what walking through an example like this with your family may look like at the kitchen table. How much can we pay out of student income? You, the student, if you worked on campus and during the summer, do you think you could pay $3,000 per year? Maybe yes, maybe higher, maybe lower. This is just one example. Student savings. So if you do have some money set aside, you got through birthdays, maybe some high school work, do you think you could pay $1,000 each year out of your savings? And student borrowing or student loans, how much would you be willing to take on? The answer may be 0. That's fine. Put it into the calculation. Maybe more. Let's just say this family said, the student said, I could take on $5,000 a year in student loans. Walk through the same process with the parents. How much from income? How much from savings? How much from loans? And the parents may say, we could do, let's say, $500 a month, which would be $6,000 a year from our income. How much could we do from savings? We have $20,000 set aside, so that may be $5,000 a year from parents' savings to go to the college expenses, and they would be willing to take on $10,000 in loans every year to make it happen. Simply breaking it down like that, in this one example, is that this family, after discussing it and working it out, could do $30,000 a year in terms of payments. So there's a lot of colleges out there that cost $30,000 or less. That's affordable. The one thing I left out was financial aid, meaning if that we were going to look at schools in this example that cost more than $30,000, for it to be affordable to this family, the difference has to be made up in financial aid. Otherwise, it may not make sense. It'd be a bad buying decision. So this is an easy process to walk through, and it also brings up good discussions between what the students can do, what the parents can do, so that everybody's on the same page. Now I want to go back to this for a second, the loans, and stress to you, the student, just a few facts and numbers. In one of the articles I read recently, the girl said she had no idea what it would equate to on a monthly basis, what would be required of her in terms of payments by borrowing. Let's walk through some of those examples now so that you'll have at least an idea of what may be required of you. If you were to borrow $20,000 over the course of your 4 years of college, and that's one thing to stress too, is that if you could do it in 4 years, that's the best, that's our ultimate goal. The students that have to take a 5th or 6th year, that's an additional cost to the family. So do focus while you're at school. $20,000 a year would be $230 a month. Can you do that? Answer may be yes, maybe no, but at least it helps you figure out how much you can borrow. Now, if you were to borrow $50,000 for college, that would equate to $575 per month from you in terms of payments over a 10-year time frame. If you were to borrow $90,000, now we're pushing the $1,000 mark on a monthly basis, which may be similar to what your parents' mortgage payment is at this point in time. So just something to think about. And they can tell you that that's a big commitment on a monthly basis. But look at these figures and see what makes the most sense to you. And again, like I said before, you may say, I don't want to borrow anything. Fine. We can figure out schools where you don't have to borrow as well. It may limit the number of choices you have, but we can do it without borrowing. Here's the other thing though. If you were not to take out any debt, and let's assume your best friend did, he's going to have to make these payments for 10 years. What if you instead didn't have any debt and you took $230 a month for the first 10 years after graduation and invested it and could earn 6.5%, let's just say on average, until retirement? At retirement time, if you just did this for 10 years, instead of making payments to loan companies, you would have over $330,000, which your friend would not, because he had to make those payments to a loan company. Now, what if you were able to save $575 per month? You would then have $826,000 more than your friend. And what if you're able to save over $1,000 a month? You would have almost $1.5 million set aside for retirement. And if you did it in a Roth IRA, it'd all be tax-free. Discussion for another day. But keep in mind, when you're committing to loans, you're also committing to future payments, which are also monthly cash flow that you are not saving yourself. So just another way to look at it, but walk through the process as a family and figure out how much is each person going to commit to this expense, because that'll help you do a better job when shopping for college. Just to give it a little bit more thought. Again, 99% of the families don't do any of this, and they don't talk about money. So kudos to you if you do that.